going to go back through the anticipated speakers. So first I'm going to start with the commission. So Patrick, are you on and can hear us?
I'm here. I can hear you.
And then, and Helen, if you could just confirm again to make sure you're still there.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Absolutely fabulous. And then Leah, can you hear me?
Yep.
And Samantha.
Yes.
And then I'll go around to the anticipated speakers. I know I had previously said Tim Dermody, and someone else actually responded to that. So
yeah, we're still here.
okay, great. Conrad Malkowski.
Still here.
Very good, thank you. Scott Jordan. Scott did not get back on yet. I don't see him anyways. Okay. Bob Murphy is now on. Bob, can you hear us? You're on mute.
I unmuted. Yes.
Very good. Fabulous. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've already gone through and opened the meeting and gave our introduction about having remote meetings because of the emergency order. And let's get, now we're back up. We have, so Scott is just joining again. We'll make sure that we check in with him. All right, seeing that it's after 7:15. Any reason, Leah, not to try to start the first public hearing?
Go for it.
Great. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a request for determination of applicability for wetland delineation review along the MBTA right-of-way in Grafton. And again, who is here? That's who's here to speak on that?
Yes, good evening. This is Clary Kutu. I'm Director of Environmental Compliance for Keolis Community Services. And we're here to present to you the RDA for the renewal of the Vegetation Management Plan for years 2021 through 2025. As is, in previous years when we come before you, we discussed the maps, the resource area setbacks for the jurisdictional areas within your community, within your town. In past years, you have issued a positive 2A determination, -5, citing the exemptions 10.03 for the presumption of herbicide application, and for riverfront area 10.58. Within your town, you have approximately 3 miles of track, and within those 3 miles, only 1/10 of a mile is wetland resource areas or conveyance structures which are zoned no spray. The rest is limited spray from property line to property line. So that being said, I will ask Matt to go over the maps with you, and I will entertain any questions you may have on the process, and I'll mute myself throughout that.
All right, thank you very much.
Everyone, this is Matt Donovan from FTC Engineers. So I was going to pull my screen up to show the maps and the vegetation management website, but since you have it here, we can just go with that. I do just want to let everyone know there is a vegetation management website. The link was included in the submission. It includes this map as well as all the other maps in the state of Massachusetts, the 5-year vegetation management plan that is currently under review for permitting by the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, and the yearly operational plans can also be found there. It's a handy tool, easy to use to stay updated on the vegetation management activities for the railroad. So this RDA was submitted required by CMR 11 and specific sections of CMR 10, requiring us to submit the maps to confirm that the boundaries of the resource areas are accurate. As I said, these requirements are part of the 5-year vegetation management plan, which is currently under review, and which is why we're before you. The plan, as part of the 5-year plan, there is a yearly operational plan each year that is sent to your commission the Board of Health, the Board of Selectmen, and the Department of Agricultural Resources. The yearly operational plan always is consistent with the 5-year vegetation management plan. We'll go into a little more detail of the vegetation management activities each year throughout the 5-year plan. The vegetation management plan includes an integrated vegetation management approach where chemical application as well as physical and mechanical methods are used to combat the vegetation. Best management practices are used throughout this plan in an effort to limit the use of chemical application, which has been an objective for Keolis. The maps we've provided you with that you see here are mainly made for the chemical portion of the plan. They were used with, they have USGS and MassGIS layers depicting the sensitive and protected areas. And we do get a list of all private wells adjacent to the right-of-way from the Department of Agricultural Resources. We do keep these maps updated based on any changed wetlands, but I can confirm to you that since the last time your commission approved these maps in 2016, that no changes to the delineations and the markings have changed. So as you can see on the maps, there are areas depicted as limited and no spray zones based on the blue and the yellow colors. In the field, the railroad tracks themselves are marked with the same color-coded system as you see on the maps, and the same corresponding to the same locations that you see. These are all governed by sensitive area restrictions that are listed and described in detail and can be found in CMR 11.04 as well as Section 8 of our VMP. And that is how all of these delineations, what they're based off of. So yeah, the railroad tracks are marked with these color-coded system, and there's a spray truck applicator who performs the chemical application, who is certified and licensed to do this work in the state of Massachusetts. They will always be accompanied by an environmental monitor who is a direct employee of Keolis's environmental team. They will be in the truck working with the operator as necessary, and they will always have these plans, these maps on hand as they perform this work. Most importantly, the yellow zones will never receive any form of herbicide. If you can scroll down just a tad, you can see the key where the limited and no spray zones. So the yellow zones will never be sprayed outside of the track structure itself, which is federally mandated to keep free of vegetation with no alternatives. So the herbicide will always be directed straight down on the tracks. As far as outside of the tracks, in the blue zones, which makes up the remainder of your line, in these blue zones, the track structure will always be sprayed. As far as outside of the track structure, that will really only be sprayed on an as needed basis if the vegetation calls for it and if the conditions call for it as well. Because of throughout your town, it's all limited or no spray zone area. So more of an effort will be put on physical and mechanical controls to control the vegetation in your town, mainly because of the proximity to all of the sensitive areas. If we can, we would rather use physical and mechanical methods in these areas over the chemical application. So I think that's a good overview of the process and the maps. If you have any questions, I can open the floor up to you.
Sure. Actually, yeah, I'll go through each one of the commissioners, and then we'll open it up to the public. I'm going to just start with a couple of questions. So you indicated obviously the difference between spraying to control vegetation and then the physical and mechanical removal. Understand that, and just want to be clear, you indicated that the spraying is only going to happen within the track area. Is that correct?
Yes and no. I'll take this, Matt. There are two spray periods within the year. The first year is pre-emergent, which actually is in and around between the first week of May and the first week or second week of June. And that is the pre-emergent that will be applied to the rail bed to the roadbed, but it will also be applied and sprayed in areas where we can actually spray. The no spray zone areas, or the yellow areas and maps in your maps, those are no spray zone areas. And within those no spray zone areas, we will always need to spray the roadbed, regardless of it being a no spray zone area, unless it's an open deck bridge.
Thanks for that clarification. And when you say the no spray areas, those are areas within 100 feet to the wetlands. Is that how you define that, no spray areas?
No, 10 feet, it can be as close as 10 feet of surface water. And in those areas in particular, no spray will occur, whether on the roadbed or open deck will occur within 10 feet of surface water.
So, and again, I understand, the need to keep the vegetation down within the track area in the immediate bed. You also talk about physical and mechanical removal. Do you have a plan that shows the limit of how you do that within the right of way? I mean, for where the tracks are, where the ballast is, I mean, that's fairly straightforward. I'm concerned beyond the ballast. Where do you do, or how do you determine that limit? And do you have a map that shows that limit?
We don't, well, we have a map for the entire system, and all the right of way for the entire commuter rail has been mapped out with all resource areas, including from property line to property line. Each community, and even within one same community, the property, the right of way property lines may differ depending on how many tracks we have, and also how much acreage does MBTA own within that town. So it varies. It's really, it's not like highway and utilities where it's a preset 45 feet to one side and 45 feet, and you will always have a straight line. We don't have the same benefit at the railroad, if that's what you're asking. But what I can add to that, in determining where and how we cut, we will always prioritize branches and trees above 12 feet that encroach upon the railroad tracks, and that really cause a significant or potentially significant risk for operations. So those tree branches in high areas over the tracks will be trimmed back so that it clears the path for the rail, for the right of way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, as an example, the T station in North Grafton, obviously, the MBTA owns the parking lot, the station itself, and therefore the limit of their ownership is well beyond what you might think as the rail right of way. And I understand that it's not a constant. Same thing with MassDOT. You have variation of right of way widths depending upon intersections and takings and other type of
Right.
issues in history. So yeah, what I'm looking for is just, I understand it might vary, but you have a track, and yes, in some places you have 2 tracks, and I'm sure throughout Massachusetts there's 3 tracks, 4 tracks, all different,
Right.
a number of them. I get that. I think through Grafton there's probably more of the 2 tracks, but I'm not really keyed in on that. I'm just looking to find out, what you have as far as the mechanical. And the reason is I'm just wondering if you're going in and taking out trees versus what you described, which is limbing and trimming. I guess that's the big
Right.
question.
So we also use, just so you know, some of the best management practices we use is we contract the services of arborists and who utilize NCA 300 methodology to address the tree hazards. So a tree might be very healthy and might be not necessarily to cut the whole thing down. And if we don't need to, we won't. We will just trim those branches that pose a risk. So we'll do selective trimming, and when the NCE 300 comes back as a tree at risk, then we will determine to cut it when we need to.
And so what my biggest kind of question issue, as far as the limits of the delineation, I mean, we've been doing this for years, and typically our agent will go out with someone from the T or Keolis and actually go through the, basically ride the
high
train
rail.
tracks, yeah, and then just look at where and so we have a good handle on that. And my biggest question is, you're asking us to approve and give a negative determination when we don't have a very good sense of the scope of work. I mean, I think we know what's going to happen in the rail bed, and if you said we're only going to do the rail bed, I think that's fairly straightforward, and we understand that. I guess our concern is how much beyond the rail bed and into the vegetation are you going to clear without having a plan that shows that. Go ahead, Leah, if you want to say something.
So if I can just cut in for a second, the way the form was filled out only requested confirmation or not confirmation of the delineation.
Oh, okay.
It's not even talking about work to be done.
Oh, okay.
The cover letter did mention what we have issued in the past with regards to work, but the paperwork itself is only asking about the delineation at this time.
Oh,
So while
okay.
it is good to review and discuss what is to be done, all we need to make a determination on right now is agreement or disagreement with the delineation.
Okay. And okay, so you've had the opportunity to look at that delineation.
I have not in person. I have compared to maps that we have, and it does match the previous one, as they stated that nothing
Okay.
changed over the 5 years. I did confirm those pieces, but I have not done it in person.
Okay, I appreciate the additional information, and also just the information from Keolis of kind of getting me to understand a little bit more about kind of that limit. So at this point, the first thing I'm going to do is John joined us. So John, if you can hear me, can you just confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry I'm late.
Thank you for letting us know that you had were going to be delayed. Okay, so let me go to each one of the conservation commissioners to see if they have any additional questions. So Patrick, do you have any other questions on this?
No, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Okay, great. And Helen?
No, not at this time, none.
All right, great, thanks. And John, did you hear the whole presentation?
I did not. So I kind of caught Clary, halfway through. So
Okay.
I don't have any questions, but I didn't hear the beginning of it. So I don't know if I have to bow out or whatever.
I would recuse yourself from
myself.
this particular hearing, just so that we don't have to go back and do the whole presentation again. So
Agreed. I don't want that I agree.
okay, thank you. So Leah, anything else from our side?
No, I would just recommend issuing a positive determination solely in agreement with the delineation as
All right,
presented.
great. I will now open it up to the public. So at this point, I'll just indicate if you do have any questions or comments on this RDA, please put your question in the chat box and the chat feature, and please address to all panelists. And if you could put your name and address also in there. This is when I babble on to give people a few minutes to actually begin to type. I don't see anyone typing. Okay, and I will just, again, I'm trying to give the public a little bit of time, but does the applicant have anything else to add? Okay. All right. So what we're about to do is we're going to close the hearing. Again, I don't see anyone typing in and asking any questions. Okay, and we're going to basically discuss closing the hearing and just issue a positive determination in agreement with the delineation only. Sorry for the cat's better side. Does anyone have any questions from the commission on this? All right, seeing none. Does anyone have a motion?
A motion to close the hearing and issue a positive determination solely in agreement with the delineation.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you. I am going to do a roll call of the commissioners. Patrick, yeah,
Yes.
put your coffee down and respond.
T.
T, okay. Helen?
Yes.
And I am also a yes, and I will just, for the record, that, John came in late, so he's not going to, didn't have the, was not able to hear the entire public hearing, so he's not going to be voting on this.
Correct.
Thank you. So the motion passes, so it's basically a positive determination and agreement with the delineation only. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Chairwoman. If I may, before we leave the meeting, is there a reason why this determination is different from 2016?
So basically, it has to do with the fact that you're requesting for the delineation only and not the proposed work.
The work is always permitted at the state level. But in previous years, just for the record, you have issued a -5 for the presumption of herbicide application for buffer zone and riverfront. And you've also issued a 1058, just for the record.
All right, I appreciate that. So, all
Thank you.
right, thanks. All right, seeing that is now 7:48, we'll move on to our 7:30 public hearing. All right, I need to go back up here. All right, pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 17th to act upon a request for determination of applicability for tree removal at 21 Wheeler Road. And who is here to discuss Wheeler Road?
That's me.
All
Conrad
right.
Małkowski.
Great. So if you want to give just a brief overview of what you're looking to do.
Okay. So in October we had a storm and a tree branch fell down, and I had Templeman Tree come to give me a quote for basically removing the tree branch and also have a look at the tree that was the source of the branch. And he basically said that I had two large trees right within the 25-foot buffer zone. They're indicated as 1 and 2 on this map. And one of them was dead and the other one was rotted. And they're tall. And if I'm unfortunate enough to have, wind blow the wrong way, it's gonna fall into my living room.
Okay. Appreciate that. Anything else?
So, that I would like to petition for permission, to petition to have permission to remove the offending trees.
Absolutely. It's a public safety and a potential danger to your house. I understand that. Leah, anything else to add on your review of this?
I just have two questions. One is for the applicant. Do either of the trees that need to come down have the no disturb signage on them?
No.
The sign, okay,
The signs are on metal poles
okay,
in front of the wetland buffer area.
okay, super. And then the other question is for the commission, because the trees are in the no disturb zone. Should debris and things be left there or removed, taken off site? What would be the preference?
So for my so for my position, I think leaving some of the debris there is fine. I would say that you don't need to remove the stumps. I would like to see the stumps remain. I will kind of go to other folks. Patrick, do you have a opinion on that?
I don't, other than leaving the stumps.
Okay. Helen?
I think leaving the stumps is probably the best option.
And John?
I agree.
Agree with leaving the stumps and the equipment not going into the no disturb if they can, I'm assuming they could access it from the property, from the
So
outside.
they are, so if I may, they already told me that they cannot use any heavy equipment because of the grade. So they will have to manually scale the
Oh,
trees and cut them down.
yeah. Good
So-
thing you're hiring a professional.
I am not tackling that by myself. I am not that crazy.
Yeah.
Smart move. So Leah, does that kind of answer? I just don't think you need to, if it's two large trees, to leave all the debris in the wetlands. But, you know, if the owner wishes to, they certainly can leave some of them, some of the debris. But the key is not going in and removing the stumps so you don't alter that area.
Okay, I can have him leave the stumps.
Okay. All right, so we've gone around with the commission. I'm going to open it up to the public. So if the public has any comments or questions, please use the chat feature to add a question or a comment. Please put your name and address on it. And then to Conrad, I'd like to let you know. So what we're going to do is we're going to vote on this now. And I just want to give you the heads up. So this is a request for determination. So if we give you a negative determination, that's what you're looking for. It's a little bit backwards. A negative determination means you don't have to get any other permits, meaning you don't have to go for a notice of intent. If I give a positive determination, that means you actually have to do another permit. So what you're looking for us to get going on this right away is a negative determination. So I just wanted to let you know that before we talk about that, so you know it. It also gives an opportunity if there's anyone in the public that it wants to ask a question. Anything else, Leah, I should cover on this?
Just the two special conditions with the stumps remaining in place and equipment staying out of the no disturb.
Sounds great. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to issue the negative determination with the special conditions, stumps remaining in place and equipment staying out of the no disturb.
Great. Do I have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call on the vote. So Patrick,
I vote yes.
John,
Yes.
and Helen.
Yes.
I am also a yes. So you are all set. You can just reach out to Leah about getting the signed permits and everything. Other than that, you should be all set to go. Thank you for submitting it and doing and following the regulations. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right. Wow, we're catching up. Okay. 7:45 public hearing. All right. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for the construction of a single-family house at 111 Merriam Road. Who is here? So that would be Scott. So hopefully Scott is back on. And can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great, thank
go
you very
ahead.
much. Yes, Scott Jordan from Ecotech, representing the applicant. So just to orient you folks real quick, Leah, would you be able to share that plan? Thank you very much. So the property, top left corner of the plan is a locus. Property is located at the far end of Merriam Road, out between Adams and George Hill Road. On the north side of the road, Ecotech delineated BVW associated with an intermittent stream on the east side of the property. It's actually located just off site. Flags A1 to 12 are shown. The proposed project, the buffer zone is shown as a dashed and dotted line on the plan. Just a portion of the house is within the buffer zone. The septic, it's a very minor grading for the septic in the backyard. There is a 100-year floodplain located out there, and that is shown on the plan. If you look, approximate FEMA flood zone A boundary. Thank you. So we are not working within the floodplain. The limit of lawn is the inside row of hay bale and silt fence. We will not touch the BLSF floodplain. And our interpretation of the bylaw is that the 25-foot setback would be from the floodplain, the uppermost resource area, excuse me. So we are showing the 25-foot setback from the floodplain boundary. And that is on the right side of the plan. Thank you. So we are proposing this area. Some folks may recall this property previously. I think they used to sell firewood. There used to be a lot of logs stacked up out on this property. It's since been cleaned up. And so it's kind of coming in sort of a upland field type area right now. So the area was previously disturbed. So what we would like to propose, we have filed for a waiver request to work in the 25-foot setback from the floodplain. Again, this is an upland resource area, and this isn't 25 feet from the BVW. If that were the case, it wouldn't even encroach onto the lot. But what we would like to provide is a mitigation package. The area that's encircled by the erosion control barrier, the top right part of the plan, is a proposed sapling planting area. And the engineer has reduced the proposed lawn area such that the proposed lawn area work within the 25-foot setback is 4,775 square feet. And we would provide a 1-to-1 mitigation. The planting area, again, it's encircled by the erosion control barrier, is 4,775 square feet. So we'd like to propose sapling plantings in that area. Again, it's coming in as an upland field right now. There's a few little shrubs coming up also, but we did provide a mitigation planting protocol. And we're proposing northern red oak, white pine, and red maple in that area, 18-foot on center. It's about normal spacing for trees to give them some room to grow. So that is the proposal, and I'd be happy to turn it back to the chair, try to answer any questions you might have.
All right. So I'm going to go around the commission and ask if anyone has any questions. Everyone moved again. Okay, so John, you get to go first. Any questions?
I don't have any specific questions, no.
Okay, Patrick?
No, I don't think I have any questions.
Okay, and Helen?
Has the property been sold, or are you building?
Whoops, did we lose Helen?
Oh, I hope not.
No, you're still there.
Can't
Go
hear you
ahead.
now.
Has this property been sold to an individual family, or is it being built to sell?
I honestly do not know the answer to that question. I do not.
Okay.
Who's the applicant?
Heath Hill Properties is
Okay.
the applicant, Michael Polselli.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, Helen?
No, thanks.
Okay. Leah, can you just bring up the plan for 1 minute?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I wanted to, so it's a septic system is there, and there's a proposed well, that's all shown on here. You show decks and a front porch in the driveway, okay. That was kind of just making sure everything is shown on the plans. I have no questions. I'm gonna open it up to the public. So if the public has any questions on 111 Merriam Road, go ahead and type your name and address into the chat feature, and we'll be happy to answer questions. As that goes on, we're going to talk about the request to grant a waiver for the work within the 25-foot no disturb to the land subject to flooding, and the request from the applicant is to maintain 4,775 square feet of grass area, and proposing a mitigation of the same area. And again, this is that 25-foot no disturb to the bordering land subject to flooding. That's actually not to the bordering vegetated wetland. So I will just go around. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the request for the waiver? Patrick?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. John?
I do not have any questions. No.
And Helen?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, so there's no questions from the public. Leah, any other further items we need to discuss or chat about?
Just two reminders. One is we need a vote
Yep.
separately for the waiver.
Got
And
it?
the other is that I would include a special condition that the mitigation planting plan be followed as submitted, just to clearly spell it out in addition to our standard conditions.
All right, that sounds good. Do I have, first of all, we're gonna do the waiver request vote. So do I have a motion for the waiver request?
I will motion to grant the waiver request.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
So we have request for the waiver. We have a motion in a second. So I'll do a roll call on the vote. Patrick,
I vote yes.
John,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes,
I am also a yes. The next one is to vote on closing the hearing and issuing the order of conditions with our typical conditions, plus the condition that the submitted plan must be followed for planting for the mitigation of the 25-foot no disturb waiver request. So do I have a motion?
I'll motion to close the hearing and issue the order conditions with standard conditions and the special condition of the planting plan to be followed.
Great. Do I have a second?
second it.
All right, I will do a roll call for the vote. Patrick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Helen.
Yes,
I am also a yes, and so the motion passes, and the hearing is closed. The order of condition will be issued. Okay,
Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
you too.
You too.
All right, so now we have continuations. We only have one continuation, Leah?
Correct.
Okay. All righty. Okay, So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit for the construction of a single-family house at 21 Meadowbrook Road. Who is here to discuss this?
I'm Bob Murphy. I'm here representing James Conkey in his
Okay.
application for the single-family house. I believe James is there, although I don't see him.
Yeah, no, he is there. I can see him.
I'm here, Bob. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Basically, we've had several continuations for this project since the almost back to April, May, when we were starting to show this stream, which has been shown as a perennial stream on the plan. It actually dried up early, and the reason it dried up is because we were at the very beginning stages of a drought. And so we've essentially been continuing the meeting because the drought has continued during the course of the summer and into the fall. And we're at the point now where, you know, we really need some feedback, I guess, from the commission in order to make a determination as to how we should really proceed with this. It appears that there's a statewide drought is still in effect. And we've been watching, you know, the web pages, several web pages actually, and it appears that the drought is continuing, even though we've had a fair amount of rain recently. So it's essentially, we wanted to come before the commission and explain our position as it relates to, you know, just continuing, because we really don't know when the drought is going to be, you know, it's going to end or be determined to end. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
Okay. It's unfortunate. Unfortunately, we don't control the weather, and it's unfortunate that, you know, moving forward, we're going to be in times of drought and times of excess rainfall due to climate change. It's unfortunate that you know, this applicant got stuck into that area. But so Leah, why don't you go through where we're at and just kind of give us an update?
Sure. So this application was filed in February. I know things have been unusual with the drought and COVID and everything like that. But we have had, as Bob said, a lot of continuation requests, kind of waiting for the drought to end, in the hopes that they can get the documentation they need to overcome the perennial status for the river.
Yeah.
With that not happening, and it, you know, we're almost coming up on a year now, it would be my recommendation that this be withdrawn and resubmitted when you're able to gather that data that you need. In addition to just this question of the status of the stream, there's been other pieces that have been missing from the application. We've been trying to piecemeal it as we go. There hasn't been a lot of movement on it in a long time. So it's incomplete in an administrative package sense, as well as the sense that the status on the river is still being debated. So I
Did you
just,
do-
I'm not.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Please
I just
finish.
don't know that it's fair to abutters who might be following this process to keep trying to follow along with numerous continuations bordering on a year with other applications that have gone on for a long time. We've done the same process. So
Right.
that was my suggestion.
So you haven't done a stream stats analysis?
Well, we've basically been hoping to follow through with the 4 days of, you know, no flow with the stream. We actually had 2 days of no flow before the drought was determined.
Okay. Oh, I'm not sure, ma'am. I'm in another room. Hold on, please.
So Helen, you're not on mute, just to let you
Sorry,
know.
I'm sorry. I might have to deal with my husband. He might have fallen. I've got to go. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Take care
Bye.
of that. Bye. So that didn't answer my question. Did you do the stream stats analysis for this river?
No, we didn't.
Okay. Have you tried to do that just to understand? I mean, I understand that you're stuck in this drought. And so what I'm looking at is there's an engineering solution, and that is to do a stream stat analysis. And that process is set up through the state. So you can go on to the DEP. I don't know if it's a DEP website. It's been a while since I've done stream stats. But yeah, there's a way that you can look at a river and look at the watershed to determine if it is perennial or not. In this case, because the river is shown as perennial on the USGS, it's assumed to be perennial based on the regulations. So what you've been trying to do, what your representative is trying to do, is demonstrate that it's not perennial, and there's different ways you can do that. And the one that your representative is talking about is having 4 days of no flow in a non-drought condition. So that's one way. It's providing that evidence. Another way to look at it is through the stream stats analysis.
And if I can just add in a little bit there,
Yeah.
we did get comments back from DEP on this project, and they included a sentence: USGS stream stats also provides a drainage area over a half of a square mile and
Okay.
a 99% flow duration greater than 0.01 CFS for the stream.
Okay, so that would determine that it's perennial.
Yeah, I was about to say that we had received an initial report from the DEP that they had done they had looked at the stream stats.
Okay. All right. So if that's the case, I mean, you're trying to, and again, I can't tell you, but based on the stream stats, it's unlikely you're going to find that it's not a perennial stream. I mean, that's what the stream stats program is there for, is to provide an overview of that. I mean, just to give you a little background, when USGS does their mapping, based on how they do it, based upon the size and configuration of the stream, they'll make a determine either a solid blue line or not. But that's what the state regulations base that stream is to be perennial and not perennial. And the difference between perennial and not perennial is, under the regulation, is significant. If it's perennial, you have what's called the riverfront area. I'm sure you've heard that. And that riverfront area is a resource area. And there's different standards that you need to meet within the riverfront area. So, you're in front of the commission, and it's up to the applicant on whether they want to keep continuing to continue a hearing. But right now we're in a position where the commission, there's no information or no evidence been submitted to us that it's not perennial. The burden is on you because of what's on the USGS map. So if you don't demonstrate that it's not perennial, you have to treat the resource areas and design to those standards. So that's kind of just an explanation of where we are. So we're just following the regulations, and it's up to your representative to demonstrate whether it is or isn't. And at this point, the assumption that it is a river and therefore a perennial river, therefore there's riverfront, you have to meet those standards. And to this point, we haven't had any evidence that it's not perennial. And based on the stream stats that DEP did, it's going to be a stretch, I think, to see that if it is found to be not perennial. So again, that's up to your representative and your professional doing that. As far as the Conservation Commission goes, it's pretty clear cut for us. we have to assume it's a river until evidence is submitted to us that says it's not, or you design towards the standards of it being a riverfront. And that's your choice, and I'll leave that up to you. But hopefully that explains it. To Leah's point, it's been in front of us for a year. You can continue it. At some point, we will require you to re-notify your abutters. To Leah's point is the fact that when you keep continuing it, and that's within your right to do that, and it's up to you, the applicant, to do that, and that's not an issue. We just want to make sure that the public and your abutters are aware of what's going on, because they also have the right to understand what's going on. So that's where we're at now. There's no way that we're not going to consider this a perennial, because there's no evidence yet in front of us that it's not. I mean, that's pretty simple. I don't know if you have anything else and what you want to do, but I'll go around the commission and ask other folks what their opinion is, but I don't know if you have anything else to add. So Lee, is there anything else? I mean, I think from our perspective, it's pretty clear cut. We can't consider it anything but perennial until we get evidence. And
Right.
unfortunately, you're just chalk it up to 2020 in the in the very bizarre year that we're having, and you're stuck in the middle of a drought. So I am going to just check with the other conservation commissioners to see if they have any other questions. Patrick?
No, I have nothing to add at this time.
Yeah. John?
Nothing to add.
Okay. So now this is up to you. I think it's fairly straightforward. I understand what Leah is saying. There's still some administrative deficiencies in the submission. The big one is whether it's perennial, not perennial. And right now there's nothing in front of us that demonstrates that it's not perennial. So, until the plans change or whatever, we're not going to, it's up to you. We can act on it. And to be quite honest, we would deny this because everything in front of us tells it is perennial and based on the design. But it's totally up to you if you want to continue the hearing. I'll leave it up to you, and we're happy to answer any questions.
What I'd like to request is, initially, I was led to believe in the DEP review that they had done a comprehensive stream stat evaluation. And I still believe that's what happened. But what I'd like to do is to go back and take a hard look at the stream stat evaluation that was done and determine if there's any leeway relative to the size of the watershed area, soil types, and all that. So at this point, I would request that we continue the hearing for a minimum of 2 weeks, so we can go back and take a hard look at this, the stream stats. Like I say, I was led to believe that the DEP had already reviewed it. So what we were trying to do is give you hard evidence of no flow for 4 days. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that.
Yep. And that's fine. And again, the burden of proof of whether it's perennial, not perennial is on the applicant in this condition, in this specific situation, since it is shown as perennial on the USGS. So I have no issue with that. I will open it up to the public. If anyone is here to on 21 Meadowbrook, if you have any comments, please use the chat feature to ask them. Other than that, I'll just go around the commission to see if anyone else has anything else. Patrick?
The only thing I would add is that in the meantime, it sounds like there's a lot of administrative deficiencies as well. If you're going to be coming back with anything else at the next meeting that we're continuing to.
Okay. Yeah, that has to get cleaned up before We take any action on that? John, anything else further?
No.
Okay. Helen is not with us at this point. That's fine. She will not be voting on this. Leah, anything else should we include other than just doing another continuation? Okay.
Oh, I have.
Yeah, and to the, applicants, James, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Yeah, we don't want to obstruct things, but we're a volunteer board and we're just trying to follow the regulations. So,
Well, no, we understand. We'll, again, chalk it up to 2020 and we'll take another look at what the DEP's put together for the stream stats and we'll see where that takes us over the next couple of weeks.
all right, sounds good. Having a request for continuation, do I have a motion?
When are we continuing to?
The next meeting.
Next meeting is December 1.
Ow. December, really?
Is that enough?
Is that enough
Is that enough time?
December, what, 11?
One.
First,
1.
December 1st? I believe so. Yeah, it shouldn't take more than 24 hours to do the stream set. As far as the administrative deficiencies, we were kind of in a box where if we could not show the stream was intermittent, then all the other issues kind of go away. So we really had initially hoped that we would have a normal year, because I have seen the stream dry up on other years, but that's not the case this year. So
So there are other things on the list that we've given you that can be addressed regardless of the stream status. The DEP form is still unsigned. Plans are still unstamped. So you should check that list again.
yeah, the plans that are not stamped, are those the electronic files? Because the hard copies were stamped.
I
don't-
have to go back and check at this point.
Okay, well, we could take care of that. That's not a big deal. We could take, but again, we were really kind of in a holding pattern here until we got the stream to dry up, which it did. Unfortunately, it was in a drought. But I can pretty much promise you that after we get our determination relative to the stream stats, we will make a decision so that we don't, continue to drag this on and on.
Okay, so the question was, is December 1st sufficient time? And
Yes.
I'm hearing yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue to December 1st. Do I have a second?
I didn't actually make a motion,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but I will make a motion to continue.
I'm
to
sorry. Thank
December
you.
1st.
I second it.
All right, so we have a motion second for continuance. I'll do a roll call. Patrick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
I am also yes. So, and just make a note that Helen was not able to listen to this public hearing. And so this is, that passes and it's continued to December 1st. All right, good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your,
Yeah.
thank
Good
you for
night.
your time.
All right, Leah, action items. Is there anything that we should be looking at to go first?
Based on who's on here, we can skip around a little bit. So if you
Okay.
go to the second one, which is 41 Fitzpatrick Road. We issued their order a little while ago.
Yep.
One of the conditions prior to commencement of work was that we be provided with the final design for the culvert.
Yep.
That's gonna go under the driveway near the road. So we have been provided with that plan, which I can pull up right now.
Okay,
So we need to determine if that's in order or not, as well as I would like to just call attention to that the final house design is on this plan now. It's a little bit larger footprint than the placeholder that was on the plan we approved before, which would
Okay.
be this plan in red.
all right,
And the reason they don't have a stormwater permit because it's a small lot. But the reason I bring it to your attention is because the commission had granted a waiver to allow building to occur on this lot, with it being less than 30,000 square feet of contiguous upland. And the finding was due to the configuration of the lot, as well as the no disturb that was going to be preserved to compensate. So I just wanted to call attention to the footprint of the house being larger now. Does the commission want to require the no disturb to be enlarged to compensate for that? So that's a question for you guys, as well as looking at the culvert design.
Thank you. So the one question I would have is, it's very obvious that the building is much larger, or the house is much larger. Did the limit of work change?
No, it did not.
So the building got bigger, but okay. I'll go to the other commissioners. Patrick, do you have a comment on that? Or
I can't really, how much larger is it than the proposed?
I don't have a figure
Approximately.
right on the plan. We do have attendees on here that can maybe answer that question.
okay, so yeah, who's on here for 41 Fitzpatrick?
Brian McEwen from Graz Engineering.
Okay, how much bigger is the house?
You know, I didn't look at the differential, to be honest with you, mainly because we were keeping everything within the footprint that was on the original plan as specified in the order of conditions that you issued.
Well, it's within the limit of work. It's certainly not within the footprint.
Right. No, I didn't say within the limit of work for the project that was approved.
Okay. It just leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth that, what we saw was a pretty modest house, and it looks like it's doubled in size. And now instead of, if you go back to the first one, Leah,
Yep.
She's got it.
and I'm just looking at the distance between, kind of the edges and the limit of work, and what's the likelihood of that 25-foot no disturb getting impacted because you're getting closer to it.
Well, what I would offer through the chair is that the limit of disturbance in that 25-foot no disturb area that you guys granted on the original plan was a retaining wall, and that's being maintained.
Okay.
So basically, you've got a hard feature that would be limiting, and that would obviously, I'm assuming it wasn't indicated on the original plan, and I don't believe it was. I'm sure it was indicated in the writing of the order that it would be signed that no disturbance beyond that line. So you've got a hard feature versus what we typically see at the 25-foot no disturb, which is just signs every 25 or 50 feet, depending upon the nature of the project. So I don't see that being the issue. I do understand your concern about the increase in the footprint. It's something I could get a number on for you shortly if you wanted to move on to something else. If that's one issue you want to see, what I would say is it's still, the percentage of building coverage for the lot is 3.2. So I'm guessing the original one was probably, and just going by eyeballing it, probably more in the 2.8% lot coverage for the building footprint on the original plan. But like I said, the big thing was, again, Graz Engineering was brought on by the contractor because there was not really good definitive information for the culvert crossing as well as the site grading. And then as of, late Thursday afternoon, we finally got the house footprints that the architect is putting together for the building permit. And we updated the plan. So we were brought on after the fact of the plan that you originally approved by Blackstone Valley Survey.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this one has much more detail and I appreciate the grading on this one. So let me just go around to the other commissioners and see what their kind of reaction is to this. Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of had the same thought that it appears to be somewhat larger. I guess that the hard stop of the retaining wall is something. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to add right this second if you want to go to someone else.
Sure. John?
So if I'm looking at this correctly, along the zig and the zag of the 25-foot no disturb, that's your wall, but basically you've pinch pointed the house up against that wall. So that was my only concern, is that if that's a hard retaining wall, how big is the retaining wall? It looks like top wall is 102 foot.
Right, and the contractor is proposing to use the gravity blocks, the 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot long.
Ready,
We're
Rock?
not looking at the hand placed blocks, we're looking at the large gravity blocks.
Yeah. A Ready Rock or something similar to that.
Exactly.
Which would make it more difficult down the line potentially for a homeowner to move, obviously.
Yep.
Which is good, but still, I there's definitely a little bit of concern because you've creeped closer to that wall. I don't know if that has any other concerns with the committee, but the commission, but that's my only comment. Is obviously it looks like it's creep. We're at 97.5 on that corner by the deck. I don't know what the dimension there is, but that house is now a couple feet away from that wall, if that.
Well, as labeled on the plan, the closest point of the structure is actually the corner of the deck, which is 4.7 feet off the inside face of the wall.
Yep, I see that.
Yeah, one
And
thing
so the house would be somewhat a little bit more set away from it, but yeah, that is the pinch point, and that's kind of driven by one, the new house plan that they move forward with, and two, by the requirement for driveway offsets to property lines in the zoning bylaws as well. So you got, and the grading adjacent to the driveway on the left-hand side as you come in. We ended up having to do a 2-to-1 slope there and rip-wrapping it so that we could lift the house up and keep the flow of the water coming down Fitzpatrick Road from running into the front of the house.
Right. I mean, obviously this is, this particular plan has a lot more detail on it and it's easier to see what's going to happen. The only kind of, to what John said, is the fact that we've got these pinch points now. Leah, so as far as where we're at, so we needed to get an updated drawing. This is the updating drawing. And I understand that the limit of work hasn't changed. The configuration of the building has. Can we add a requirement to get we will get an as-built anyways of the foundation, but I'm thinking we need to get an as-built of that retaining wall, because I think the tendency is to not put the wall right where it's shown on that plan.
Could theoretically give the house more space, you're thinking?
Yeah,
Andy?
I mean, just a contractor being out there and straightening out the line or something, not looking at the plan and just saying, well, this is dumb, I'm going to do a straight line or something.
Would the wall go in before the foundation is dug or after the foundation's dug?
Through the chair, please.
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, we were brought on by the contractor specifically for the reason that you just stated. We are going to be responsible for staking the location of the retaining wall prior to it being installed, because this site is so tight. And then as far as the wall before the foundation, you're correct. It would have to go that way. They would want to get in there, get the site shaped up to the limit of work area grading, and get the platforms built for the concrete truck to get into the forms for the house. So, I mean, the nature of the flow of the work would be to get the culvert set, stone and graded up to the proposed grades so that they access up to the front of the house. And then they would like to get, I understand he wants to get it so the truck can get in there to do the tree clearing up against the limit of work. From what I understand, the erosion controls were already installed and been inspected by Lee. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they want to get that cleaned out, and then they would proceed with trying to get the site graded up so that they can get it shaped up for the foundation. But yes, the perimeter wall would have to go in. They have to work their way out of the site because it's so tight.
Yeah.
My concern would be if the wall was in, if that's 5 feet, if it's for argument's sake, 5 or 6 feet away from the corner, that might be tough to put that foundation in. Is it a slab on grade or is there a full basement?
Pardon me, it's a walkout basement in the back, full basement depth.
Wow. So that's really going up high. Okay.
I-
So,
It's a standard 7'6", 8'4". So yeah,
so Lee, if you bring up the plan again, I mean,
Sure.
I think that's a really good question on, because that means, just so we all understand it, this, it is what it is type of thing. But so basically, if you could zoom in on the building, yeah. So the finished floor elevation is,
basement floor is 96 to
okay.
98 to.
All right. And then it's like a half a foot down to the outside elevation
Correct.
at 97.5. And then you hit the wall 5 feet away, and then that drops another 3 feet or so, right?
Oh, no, the top of wall would be 98 at the pinch point.
Yep.
The proposed grade would be 97.5 at the corner of the house.
Yep.
And the top of the retaining wall right next to it would be 98.
Oh, okay. So
Okay,
it's yep.
just before that corner, you'll have a step in the wall from 100
Gotcha.
to 98.
Yep. All right. So that house is going to be very, that first floor is going to be, I don't know, 10 plus feet above the grade at the bottom of the wall. So a little bit more than 10 feet. Yeah. Okay. So that house is going to be sitting way up, which
Right.
is, it is what it is type of thing. It's just, I think to John's kind of question is, you got a pinch point there but it's not really an area that people are going to use because of the drops.
Correct.
And how's it going to be constructed without entering the no disturb? Or that's my kind of concern, is what are you going to have to do? Are you going to undermine that wall, or are you going to have issues with that wall because of the proximity of it? But maybe that's not our concern. I don't know.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, obviously, if something isn't constructible, I'd want to say something to
That's my
Brian's,
only thought.
yeah, no, to Brian's point is that I thought for some reason, but looking at these grades, you're going to come in, install the wall, because when you look at the top of the wall versus your bottom of your footing, it's not that huge a difference. So they're going to put the wall in and then have it exposed, and it's a large block wall. Then you're going to put your forms in. It's going to be tight no matter what, but
I have a
it's means
question.
and methods. Yeah, go ahead.
I might have missed this, but is the retaining wall, like if you're standing in the yard, is the retaining wall coming up higher than the lawn? Or
Yep.
is it the lawn is up high and the retaining wall is like a drop off to the
So
wetlands?
so if we start at the wetlands and you come from the wetlands across that 25 feet, it only comes up a little bit to like elevation 95, and that's the bottom of the wall. Then that goes up about 3 feet to 5 feet, depending upon where you are on the ups, on the house side. And then from that corner, that's the close point, the top of the wall is 98. The lawn right next to it is a half a foot below that. And of course, that's at about the basement level, just below the basement level. And then the first floor is obviously, 8 feet above that. actually it's more than that, it's 10 feet above that. So it's really when you're, if you're standing at the wetlands line, you look towards the house, you're going to see the face of the retaining wall. And then above that, you'll see the house up above that.
Yeah, what I was mainly getting at is that the retaining wall will function as a physical barrier.
Yep.
To the wetlands.
Yeah, and that's what the applicant is saying, is
Yeah.
that, and that hasn't changed. This type of wall doesn't require a large footing. It requires, a gravel base. So, you're not going to be, digging into that 25-foot no disturb zone. You're going to build it straight up, and there's a, so it's only going to be a couple blocks high. So it's going to be unusual.
The type,
But but again, all these questions are really just to clarify. The limit of work hasn't changed. They're just, putting a whole lot more into that limit of work than what we had originally saw. So
yeah,
when,
if I
so
may, I think the bulk of what you're seeing too is the fact that the contractor wanted the detail to know exactly how everything was going to fit together out there, rather than just have a box sitting in area that was designated as a, this area of disturbance. Make sure everything is going to work grading wise, and that's what we've done for them.
yeah, there's no question that this, obviously, that the previous drawing submitted, we had questions on it, which is why we required additional information.
Okay.
This shows a lot more information to demonstrate that, the constructability of it. The only flip side of that is it based on the new footprint, it just makes everything a little bit more, a lot more dense as far as, what's going into that limit of work.
Correct.
So, okay. So just to kind of go back around to the commissioners, kind of what your thought is about the fact that, there's more in the bag, but the bag size hasn't changed. They're just putting a whole lot more into it. And as far as the scope of what we're doing as far as the wetlands, that hasn't changed. So Pat, do you have kind of any other comments? And again, this is, we're responding to a request that we had put in the conditions that we needed to see more information. Correct, Leah?
Yes, so it's sort of a two-pronged conversation. The main reason they're back is to provide detail on the culvert. So we do need to make a finding of sorts on whether we find the culvert to be adequate or not. The part that we got into this conversation about now was just something that I flagged when comparing the two plans and wanted to bring to your attention and get your opinion on. So we kind of need to do two things here.
Yeah. Oh, so that's great. So, Patrick, any kind of further comment on the discussion of the house and the retaining wall?
No, I like the bag analogy.
Yep. John.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. And so that's so, yeah, again, I think you, Brian, I think you understand our reaction to, wow, this is different. And thank you for talking through it, because we need to understand it before we go to the next step. So as far as the culvert goes, Lee, if you want to bring up the plan again.
Yep.
And I think, I don't know, Brian, if you could go through and describe what the changes are. I don't think there's a whole lot of changes here, but there's a lot more detail on this plan.
Yeah, she's it's blocked out on my screen a little bit here. If you slide it one way or the other. But basically what we've done is taken the Blackstone Valley survey plan, and we were actually able to get his CAD drawing, so I was able to figure out what the actual grades were out there at the location of where we wanted to do the driveway coming in the culvert crossing. So we basically set the inverts of the culvert as specified on his plan at existing grades at the invert in and the invert out, and basically have labeled that with the appropriate pipe that the contractor has agreed to use, which is basically smooth interior wall ribbed ADSN 12, standard culvert, 18 inch, 55 feet long with a slope of a little over 3.5%.
Did the previous plan show a 12 inch?
No, it said 18 inches.
Okay. All right. No, I think that's fine.
I was actually gonna actually run the numbers and knock it down to 12, but the contractor said the original plan had 18 inches on it, so since you guys had already seen that plan, let's just stick with it.
Right.
I don't think the flows are gonna be, you know,
I know in the previous public hearing, wasn't there, Leah, please remind me if my memory is correct or not. There was a couple of abutters that were concerned about that flow underneath the driveway,
Right.
correct?
okay.
So there is some water there that comes across the street and comes down.
Yep.
So that 18 inches, I think, is appropriate. Based on especially what the abutters said. Okay.
Right, and just for your edification, I mean, that pipe at that slope, flowing, full capacity would be, roughly 31 CFS, which is,
Yep.
that's a real large watershed area.
Right. And from my perspective, to me, is a culvert like this in this type of location inherently gets blocked. So
Mhm.
having an 18 inch there is just having additional capacity.
Yep.
So I don't think it's a bad thing. So Leah, I'm pretty much okay with the way the culvert is shown. I do appreciate the fact there's actually a lot more detail on here. And there's just one question. I'm just looking at where the retaining wall ends and just trying to look at the grading on the west side of that culvert. On the east side, it's pretty straightforward. You've got the riprap and it comes, and then is there a wall there too? So is that going through the
Yeah,
wall?
Yeah, to catch the grades for the driveway,
Okay,
because on the original plan, they didn't really show how the grades were gonna work coming in from the roadway to the house.
yep,
Basically, we're gonna need to catch that grade, with the retaining wall, and the, pipe will have to daylight through that wall.
okay. No, that's absolutely fine. So just to just go around to the commission again, Patrick, you have any questions about the culvert itself?
No, I do not.
And John?
No, I don't.
No, Leah, this has more detail.
I just want to make one last comment here. I know that the footprint of the house went up, but I would note that the footprint of the driveway went down because the footprint of the driveway that was on the original plan wouldn't meet the driveway spec for a curb cut by the DPW standards. So that's been reduced. The throat has been reduced down to 16 feet and 24 feet wide, whereas it was quite a bit wider. So we've reduced the impervious area. Probably, it'd be interesting. The net impervious may be pretty close to the same as it was under the original plan.
Okay. All right. So just to kind of close out this conversation. So I think we've talked through the retaining wall, the hard line, recognize the increase in the footprint to the building. We've also taken a look at the culvert. I think the culvert is demonstrating that there's enough detailed information on this one right now. Versus, is there a flat end section on the east side of that culvert?
Didn't spec one if you feel it necessary on a 2-to-1 riprap slope.
Yeah, just something so you don't have the pipe sticking out. There's a bunch of different ways of doing that. I understand on the riprap 2-to-1 that you could probably kind of shape it and so forth, but I'll leave that to you guys. I don't think you specifically need to do a flat end section. So, all right, Leah, what do we need to do? Vote that this is okay, or how do we want to
Make
do
a
that?
motion to approve the culvert design.
Okay, cool. Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve the culvert design.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, we'll do a vote. So do a roll call. Patrick,
Yes.
John,
yes.
I am also a yes. So, all right, thank you for the additional detail and conversation. We were a little bit taken aback by the growing size of the house. So,
Before we terminate here, one question I'd like to ask is they're in the process of submitting for the building permit. What is the status? The contractor wanted to coordinate to get the arborist in to do the clearing. I understand, again, I haven't seen it, that the erosion controls are in. Is that fine with the commission for us to get, access into the site and get the clearing done within the limit of work prior to getting the building permit?
The erosion control is in. I have confirmed that. I need to check my list to see if other prior to commencement of work conditions have been met, and I can get back to you tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great.
all right, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, what do we have next?
I would suggest skipping down to, it would be the 5th action item, a request for certificate of compliance for one of National Grid's projects or New England Power Company.
Okay,
This was the work for a couple soil borings along their line. They have done that work. The site's been stabilized. We even have photos of it. The one outstanding item was that we had a special condition per DEP's comments that were provided during the process that we were requiring a gate or other means of access to deter ATVs, etc., from the new access point to the power lines. However, it has come up to be in conflict with the easement language that they have. So they feel that they cannot install that. So I wanted to bring that to the commission's attention and get your take on that. Otherwise, everything else has been satisfied.
sure. Okay, do we have someone here from or representing National Grid?
Yes, Teresa Portante with BSC,
Okay,
representing NEP.
all right, great. Can you just fill us in a little bit more about the right-of-way language and what the issues were?
Yeah, so in proceeding with evaluating that condition and moving forward, they discovered that they do not have rights within their easement to install a gate. They don't even have the rights within along their right of way in that portion to be able to install anything. So the language in particular in the easement that was identified is that they're just not granted they can't install anything that would be in conflict with the landowner's reserved right to park motor vehicles in such locations within said strip. So that is their limitation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can't, I mean, obviously we didn't know about it, but we can't require something that legally can't be done. And so that's pretty straightforward. We don't have that authority to do that. Leah, do we need to make any kind of motion just to, because it is a condition, just to clear it out, or is there something else that we should do?
So there is room to write on the form that gets issued about what the ongoing conditions are, so I can specify what has occurred and why that one was unable to be met. I think the commission just needs to make the motion to issue the COC with that language included.
Okay. All right.
Through the chair, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
To that effect, because the condition was listed to be in perpetuity, that I don't know if the certificate needs to reference under that section that condition cannot be, within the section of the form where it lists for ongoing conditions, just
That's
to make
exactly
it clear.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And obviously that's why we'll do a motion and have a vote on it so that it's that it's clearly been reviewed and that can be updated in that way. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. And then Leah, everything else looks okay. So it's really just that one issue.
Correct.
Okay. So do I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance with the finding that that particular special condition cannot be met. And the reason is it's a legal reason.
I'll motion to issue this certificate of compliance with the finding that that special condition can be met based on the discussion that we just had.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second, and I'll do the roll call. Patrick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and also a yes, and that motion passes. So, thank you.
So now if we can skip a few more, New England Power Company has a discussion item on our list as well.
Okay, well, let's continue with New England Power.
Okay, so Teresa can probably speak to this a little bit better than I can, but basically they have some maintenance activities that are going to be upcoming,
Okay.
parts of which they will be filing an NOI for, but there are parts that they are considering exempt as they are in the category of maintenance. So if you want to provide some more detail on that, and we can just make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Can I share my screen? I have
It
something.
won't let you, but if it's in something you submitted to us, I'm happy to pull it up.
No. Okay. I will note that for next time. I was going to share, we have a great new tool we're using where I can incorporate pictures onto our ER plan, and it's a web-based form. So anyways, I was going to show the pictures to the commission of just the right of way as a whole, and give you a sense of what's happening. So this is a continuation. It's basically the second part of the project for which we filed for the soil borings, which the borings were to provide engineering information to what they're proposing to do across this beaver impoundment. So the whole purpose of that project, there's 3 structures that are located within this big beaver impoundment that they are looking to get out of there because they can't access them to conduct maintenance activities. They're in poor condition, and so the purpose of the project is to improve the reliability of this section of their transmission line by replacing the structures on either side of the bank of this beaver impoundment. So we will be filing for those structure replacements because they, one is located within BLSF as well as buffer zone. So we will be providing compensatory flood storage for the replacement of one of those because it'll be on large concrete caisson foundation, because these are going to be, much larger structures to be able to span the whole impoundment. Again, we'll be filing for the structure on the other side of the bank. It's within the buffer zone for the foundation there. But part of this project involves exempt activities, which is to remove the structures that are within the impoundment. Currently, we looked at the water level just as a snapshot. So it's anywhere between like a foot to 6 feet out there, and we were looking at it in drier conditions this year. So because they need to get out there with matting to provide a safer platform for them to do it, they are proposing to temporarily draw down the water. There are there's one blockage and then there's one actual dam. The first blockage is located along the railroad. There's the interior of the culvert itself is blocked. So they would look to clear that out or install a temporary device to allow the water to get moving through the culvert. And then they would also either be, again, breaching or installing a temporary device for the dam that's located upstream of that culvert to effectively draw down the water level so that they can have, only a single or, 2-layer of matting to get out into the pond to get these structures out. So what we are seeking concurrence from the commission on is, the removal of the structures is considered maintenance, and concurrence that the temporary drawdown in order to provide safe access to conduct the maintenance activities is also considered exempt under both the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw.
So just one point of clarification, when you talk about the dams, describe what those dams are.
Yes, so can I add a picture in the chat feature? Is that allow you to do that or no?
You can give it a try or email it over.
Okay. No, let me send you real quick a picture, Leah.
Okay.
So there's a culvert under the railroad that is blocked. So that is one location that they'd need to unblock the culvert in addition to breaching the dam. Hold on one second, this is gonna send. And Leah, if you want, there was a plan attached to the memo that we submitted, and
Yep.
that has the location of the dams.
Which one would you like me to pull up first?
The pictures?
The picture or the plan?
The plan, then we can look
Okay.
at it. Okay, great. So if you scroll down to the southwest, see the 2 brown dots are the location of the dam. So there's one right along the railroad where the culvert is blocked. It has an old fencing to prevent buildup in front of the culvert. It's pretty corroded. It's pretty old. And then the second location, you can see that other brown dot location, and you can actually see underneath the DEP polygon for open water where the dam is on the aerial.
Gotcha.
So the layout here, there are 2 options that they're evaluating to get into this location to get these 3 structures out. So 73, 74, and 75. And the timeline of this, to remove these structures is about a month. So the matting is only going to be in here for a very minimal period of time in order to actually get these structures out. And they're not proposing they're only going to be removing the above ground component of the structures. So they don't need a lot of work area, but even just because of the water area itself, they do need several layers of matting in order to get out there if the water is not drawn down.
Okay. And the structure, just a brief description of the structure itself.
They are H-frames.
Okay.
So it's basically 2 poles. And then in the center of these structures, there's a big X brace.
Okay.
But they're wood pole structures.
All right. Just a general, is it a pole? Is it just a real general description, just to understand
They're
that.
they're wood poles. It's like here, let me get another picture. Actually, in the RCOC, I don't know if you have that handy. There are photos of an H-frame structure, and that would give them a sense of what it looks like.
Okay.
So, oh, go back up. One more. Okay, so see photo 2 in the background of that image.
Yep. Yeah,
That's the
gotcha.
new
It's
access
two
road.
poles. Yep, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, the ones in the pond, however, see how there's there's an X bracing up closer to the top of the structure in that one. The ones in the pond have the X bracing down at the base of the structure.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so they won't be removing anything below that X bracing within the pond because it'd be a lot of disturbance
Okay.
to get it all out.
Appreciate that description.
Sure.
All right. So the other part of this is what you're looking at is what is exempt based on the fact that it's maintenance and your interpretation of what is maintenance, and the maintenance is removing the poles.
Correct. And so the breaching of the dam is associated with the maintenance activity.
Okay. Leah, did you have the same opinion on that, or do you have any additional information on that?
So I was in agreement with that. The only thing that I wanted to add was a suggestion that instead of breaching the dams, they utilize whatever diversion methods instead, just on the chance that the beaver doesn't go back and rebuild and we don't have an impact on the resource area overall as a result. But I was in agreement with their other classifications of the activities.
And what do you think about that suggestion about diversion instead of breaching it?
It is possible. We did consult with Beaver Dam Solutions. I don't know if you guys have worked with them before, but to get their input on different methodologies, and that is possible. It's a little bit more costly, but it's not significant. And so the client has indicated that they could proceed with that approach to minimize the temporal impacts.
Okay. And so right now this is a discussion, and so we're not really voting on anything. But you're just looking to kind of get feedback. So.
Yes, because we do intend to file as soon as possible, but we wanted to have this beforehand, so we made sure that the content of the filing, was appropriate, and that we described the work that would be subject to the order appropriately.
Yes. So from my perspective, this is an informal discussion. Obviously, once we see the submitted, permitting package, obviously we'll be able to take a look at it. At this point, based on what I've heard, I don't see any reason not to have that classification. Leah, do you see any reason to have a different opinion on that?
Nope, I'm in agreement with what they classified as exempt in the maintenance category, and I'm in agreement with what they flagged as to be anticipated in the NOI.
Okay, great. Does the other commissioners have any other questions or have any other differing opinions on this? Patrick?
Nope, I'm good.
John?
Nope, I'm good as well.
All right, and I am also, this based on the discussion so far, I don't see any issues at this point, so.
Well, thank you very much. It's very helpful just to have this sorted out before proceeding with the filing. So I appreciate the commission's time for the discussion.
All right, very good.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. All right. So now that I'm totally confused on the discussion items, which ones do we have left, and what do we need to talk?
Sure. We have one person left in attendance for a certain item, which would be the other discussion item.
Okay.
We have listed right above the one we just covered.
Okay.
So this is 39 Blanchard Road. If you guys recall, we issued an emergency certification for septic replacement at this property. If we back up a minute from the issuance of that emergency certification, they had been working on filing an NOI with us for that work. However, the conditions of the old system worsened, necessitating that emergency certification instead. So when the commission issued that emergency certification, we included a condition that they continue to pursue the order of conditions retroactively, since the ball had already been rolling. However, we've been trying to work with the applicant to bring that NOI application to completion. It hasn't happened yet. We've passed a couple of filing deadlines asking for the missing pieces. And so we're coming to the commission now asking, the install was done and completed as an emergency. Does the commission see value in pursuing the order still retroactively, because that was the condition set at the time? And I guess just how you see this proceeding.
So have you had an opportunity to go out to the site and see how it was done, and if there are any impacts to the wetlands?
There are not impacts. They did install erosion control. It's been
We were careful.
stabilized since.
Okay. And
The whole proposal, I can pull up the plan that when they were initially filing, I can pull up that plan. The whole proposal was at least 50 feet away from resource areas. Let's see. Let's find that.
Hey, that's me.
okay. So at this point, it's just because everything is in. It was done in an emergency process, and so the bottom line is it worth both the applicant and the commission's time to have the NOI submitted at this point?
So you're correct in the intent of the question I'm getting at. I just want to clarify that we do have an NOI in hand. They got a DEP number. We're like halfway through the process. It's just that the application wasn't fully completed. We've sent lists of what was missing to try to bring it to completion and then schedule a hearing for it. That was kind of where we were left when the emergency part took over. So we're wondering what to do now with this
With
open NOI.
Yeah, with an open NOI that is already done.
Yep.
So in essence, we can't, we really don't have, there is no value to review the NOI at this point because it's wasting everyone's time. But the question I guess I have is to kind of close this out. What is it that we have the authority to do, I guess, it's more of a
I think-
procedural question.
I think it has to originate from the applicant if they wish to withdraw that NOI at this time. We haven't gotten to the point where we could issue an order one way or another, or, you know, a COC to close it out or something like that. We aren't far enough along.
Okay,
So I think it falls on the applicant to request to withdraw, and they need to also notify DEP of that as well. So DEP knows they aren't waiting for a permit that never comes.
right,
Oh, I
and that doesn't
Okay.
stay on the deed or anything else, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, it's,
How do,
how
do
it
I
had
do that?
started. Excuse me?
How do I do that?
Actually, that's a probably pretty easy thing to do. You can state at this hearing, and then would
Oh.
ask you to follow up with a letter that you would like to withdraw the
Okay.
notice of intent without prejudice. And we have on record what has gone on, and Leah's, documenting all of this. So it's just a process. So it takes it off of any kind of recording, and then to Leah's point is that you just need to notify DEP of what you've done. That's all. Is that pretty much it, Leah?
Yep.
Okay. At this point, and I'll go around to the commission. At this point, I don't see any value of proceeding with this based on what actually happened with the emergency replacement. So Patrick, any other kind of comments on this?
Nope. No other comments.
John?
No other comments.
Okay. So that's our suggestion to you, is to withdraw without prejudice, and you can say it now, but also if you can, if you could also follow up.
I'd like to withdraw without prejudice. Thank you very much.
Okay, and then if you could follow up with a written email or letter, that would help our record keeping also.
Okay. I do want to say thank you, Samantha. She was great throughout the whole process.
I
Tell you,
appreciate that.
I don't wish doing a septic replacement on anybody in the entire world. So she was great. Thank you.
That's good to hear. I always like to hear those things. So you're all set. So if you could just follow up with Leah and Samantha, then we'll be all set with that. So
thank you very much.
All right. Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
All right, Leah, what's next?
We can backtrack a little bit, go to the top of the action items list and do minutes.
Okay, I took a look at the minutes. I have no comments or questions. Does anyone else have any comments or questions on the minutes? Patrick?
Nope. No comments.
Very good. And John?
No comments.
All right, do I have a motion on the minutes?
I will motion to accept the October 20th minutes.
Do I have a
Right.
second?
I second that.
Roll call. Patrick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, and the motion passes. Next up.
Third action item down is another emergency certificate that I issued for 14 Misco Brook Path. This is a house off of Stowe Road. If you guys are familiar with the culvert on Stowe Road, where the road goes down to one lane. On the right-hand side, if you were coming from 140 down Stowe, on the right-hand side is Cider Mill Pond. The homeowner adjacent to Cider Mill Pond is also the owner of the beaver dam there, which they have experienced the beavers relentlessly damming it. They contacted the Board of Health to install a metal cage to try to help with to let the beavers keep damming, but let enough water come through to not cause a hazard to anybody. So I issued their emergency certificate on the 5th. They get 30 days to do that work, so it expires on the 4th of December. I have been monitoring Cider Mill Pond to make sure the level comes back up to where it should be when they're done with that work. It's looking promising, but I'm gonna keep checking on it. In the meantime, you guys need to vote to ratify the emergency certification since I had issued it in the meantime.
Okay. I certainly don't see an issue with that. Patrick, any issue with that?
Nope.
John?
No issue. I make a motion to ratify the emergency certification at 14 Misco Brook Path.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion
Moving it along.
seconded. Yes, no problem. You can see I'm picking up the pace here. So
Yeah.
roll call. John?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion passes. Thank you, Leah. Okay. What's
Next,
left?
we have an enforcement order for you guys to ratify as well. I issued this for Abbey Woods. It's the subdivision proposed off of Carroll Road. They basically began work without meeting almost all of their prior to commencement of work conditions. They met one of the 8 at the time. So I issued a cease and desist on the 6th. We've been working on the staff level through the remainder of those conditions with the owner. We're up to 3 of 8 having been met now. So we need another ratification from you guys on that document.
That sounds good. So I will go. Patrick, any issue with that?
Nope.
John, any issue?
No issue with this, no.
Motion?
A motion to ratify the enforcement order on 18 Carroll Road, Abbey Woods.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
Very
that.
good. Patrick, your vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I'm a yes, so that motion passes.
Next up, we have a request for permit extension from 8 Millennium Drive, where they proposed a marijuana dispensary. They have all 3 permits from us, including stormwater as well. They're seeking their first 3-year extension due to COVID shutting down their original plans to commence construction this prior summer. I recommend issuance of it. I confirm nothing has happened on site. They have not ever sought an extension before, so it's the first one.
All right, great. And there isn't anything on the state level about permitting for COVID yet, is there? Of automatically extending permits? I haven't seen anything on that, correct?
The only thing I'm aware of is permits that were in existence when the emergency order from the governor went into effect.
Okay.
Remain active, even if they were set to expire. During that time, they remain active. I forget if it's to the end of the state of emergency, or if it's to 45 days after that. Some
Okay.
things fall in one category and some fall in the other, but that's the only extension I'm aware of.
Okay, great. So do I have a motion to grant an extension for both the order of conditions in the stormwater permit, correct, Leah?
And the wetlands bylaw permit.
In the
all three.
wetlands bylaw, all 3 of them. Do I have a motion to issue a 3-year extension?
A motion to grant the 3-year extension.
Right, for all 3, do I have a second?
I second that.
All right, roll call. Patrick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes.
I am also a yes, that motion passes.
Last thing I have is the FY22 budget. I haven't had a chance to actually put the figures together yet, but I needed to bring it before you guys now because this is the only meeting where you guys can take a vote on it before it's due for me to submit to the town administrator. So if you look in the agent report, I did do a breakdown of what FY21's budget looks like. Normally, we just request the same level funding with a small adjustment for the next fiscal year. The adjustments mainly being raises for salaries and changes in annual dues for organizations like MACC. So I wanted to ask if the commission would like to seek anything different than that model. If not, I'm happy to put those figures together and get that submitted for you guys.
That sounds great. And then the percentage of salary, has that changed, gone up or down? I know that's coming out of our budget based on the our collection of fees and so forth. Is that changed at all?
So the percent breakdown between the fees we collect versus the money we are budgeted, that breakdown has not changed. The only piece that did change is when the agent position was combined with assistant planner, that made another slice of the pie, if you will, come out of the planning department as well. So my salary is actually made up of three different slices of pie.
Yep.
They pay you in pie.
But no, that percent, the 22.4% being budgeted for in the commission's budget has been the same.
Okay.
As
I
well
guess,
as well as the percent that comes out of the fees we collect has been the same as well. The change was that a different percentage was added to come out of planning side.
And that's fine. I was just checking that nothing on that side had changed. And then the only other question I have is, I know a couple years ago when we were looking at this, depending upon how many, what our kind of inflow of fees versus outflow of money, is it, what is the balance there? And is it staying up with what
Yeah.
we're, okay,
We still, I believe we still closed the year higher than
okay.
start. So the account's still growing. the
All right,
last
and
time I
that's kind of,
checked.
yeah, and yeah, and I personally think it's totally appropriate to use that money for staff. I think, yeah, I mean the staff is critical for us to carry out our kind of responsibilities, because I couldn't do it without a staff. So I think that's great. I don't know if anyone else has any other questions. Kind of on the budget, or what I'm talking about with how some of what we collect fees for pays for the salary of staff, and that is allowed through the Wetlands Protection Act. So cool. Yeah, I think this is fine. Yeah, my direction is to go ahead and complete the budget and submit it per the yeah, the schedule from the town.
Okay.
We need a motion or no?
I think we usually do one just to make it official.
Sure. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to request the level funding adjusted for federal year or fiscal year 22.
I'll second that.
Great. I'll do a roll call. John?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Motion passes. Okay.
Pies all over. Now I'm hungry.
I do have, I hate to keep you guys, but I have one small thing I did want to bring back up. If we rewind for a second to the beginning with Keolis, I just didn't know if there was any confusion with that hearing. If you guys had a chance to look at the agent report, there's been a lot of guidance documents coming out from MACC surrounding these filings for delineation review versus making a determination on the work they're going to be looking at. They've, in numerous towns across the state, they've filed the same way. The form itself is asking for a determination on the delineation, and that's it. Then in the cover letter, they walk through what's been issued in the past with regards to the actual work they might want to do. So MACC put out pretty extensive guidance suggesting the action that commissions take, which is just what we took tonight, to act on the delineation, because that's what the request is for. There's certain regulations that provide exemptions for the railroad to do herbicide treatments, should they find that they fall under those exemptions. However, those exemptions don't cover things like physical harvesting of vegetation if they're in a resource area. So MACC was very hesitant to have commissions issue these blanket negative determinations when we're not even clear yet on what the extent of work is in each town. So I just wanted to clarify that in case there was any confusion with the way that hearing closed.
Right, which is why I asked all those questions up front. As you guys know, I'm on the MACC board, so I've heard a lot about this, and there's going to be, we're going to hear more about this, and I'm sure there'll be, I don't know what Keolis is going to do, but they actually switched up how they're requesting. It does, you know, it's not the same request as they've always done. So it's changing and so forth. So yeah, so that's kind of the process that we were looking at and following. So
so that helps, because I think that was the main thing that was covered before I got onto the call. But yeah, it's helpful to get the background of that.
Yeah. So it's just, you know, it's just MACC is trying to give um, commissioners, you know, kind of guidance in the fact that, um, you still have the right to ask what's going to be done for work. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And it's a little bit of a play by Keolis about how to get things through and how they're using their exemptions and so forth. So it's just trying to maintain our authority under the Wetlands Protection Act. Now it's exempt from our local bylaw. So, but yeah, so it's just yeah, you'll see more on that. So appreciate that, Leah. So,
That's all I have for you guys.
okay, I will give a quick update. I sit on the DEP, Mass DEP Stormwater Advisory Group as a representative from MACC. And so just to let everyone know, there's going to be some proposed changes to the Wetlands Protection Act and more importantly, the stormwater manual. They're looking to update the rainfall data used to NOAA Atlas 14, and this is and they're actually DEP is actually proposing whether this gets approved or not. That's a different question, and there will be a different answer to that. Right now, we use in Grafton, we use Cornell. Well, they're looking to go up to Atlas 14. I would say that we want to do that, but kind of to my surprise, they're actually when you look at Atlas 14, the rainfall data, they give you a range of like the 100-year storm of like, say it's from 7 to 10 or something inches in 24 hours. And typically it is the mean that most engineers use. So if it's, yeah, I'll just use a round number. If it's 6 to 10, the mean would be 8 inches. DEP is actually looking to increase that. So it's the 90th likelihood. So it's not like the 8 inches, it's actually like 9.5. So the change in rainfall data is pretty significant. So it's a big change and there's going to be a lot of discussion on it. And so at this point, this is all public information. It's all on the DEP website. And so there's one more meeting of the Stormwater Advisory Group in December. And then they will be putting this out for public comment in the beginning of next year. This is all to align with MS4s, and they're calling this Atlas 14 plus. That's what how they're calling this as the rainfall. I'm surprised. I knew they were going to go to Atlas 14, but I thought they were going to go to the median number, and they're really going higher. They're trying to capture a little bit more of climate change. I think this is really positive, and it's definitely will help protect the wetlands. But I just wanted to let everyone know, and as things develop, it's all on the website, on the DEP website. But as I go to the different meetings with the advisory group, I'll let people know what's going on. So just want to let people. I don't know if Leah, you'd heard about the changes coming. Yep. And so they're pretty significant, and they will impact stormwater design significantly. So just a heads up on that. That's all I have.
What would I know they have to do public comment and all that. What would be the timeline for that going into effect so that we know if we wanted to update our bylaw to align with the same?
Perfect question.
When we need to gear up for that?
Perfect question. My guess is that they're really working to align themselves with MS4. They need to do that by, I think it's like June of next year. So they're looking to implement these changes in the spring of next year. So they'll have the comment period, January, February or so. There's going to be a lot of discussion on this and a lot of pushback on this. So when it actually gets done, I can't tell you, but there's a lot going on here. So next year, and I think to your point, Leah, we should really line up to be ready to change to what the state's going to on the local bylaw.
Okay, so maybe at least get a placeholder.
Yep.
On an upcoming warrant.
Yep, and there's a whole bunch of other little parts of the changes to do with Mass DOT and their requirements. There's also infiltration and recharge changes. The recharge changes are really significant because they're going to say 1 inch of recharge for all soils except for D. As an engineer, and the requirements of that's going to change things a lot. So as things move ahead, I'll definitely keep everyone informed, but it'll be interesting. So that's what I got.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Anything else? We're
Just
down to the last
everyone's
thing.
favorite motion.
Absolutely. Do I hear one?
A motion to adjourn.
I
I have a
second.
second. There's a second. Patrick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I'm definitely a yes on that. So thanks everyone, and everyone have a good Thanksgiving and a safe Thanksgiving. So
Speaking of safe Thanksgivings or safe in general, did anyone hear from Helen about her husband?
I was gonna say is if maybe if we could, Leah, if you could follow up with her, maybe
Yeah.
not today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give her a call.
Yeah, just so, and if you could let us know if anything is happening,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
I
Goodness.
appreciate
That's
that.
scary.
Yeah, it's
Could
yeah,
be scary. Hopefully not scary.
Yeah.
yep, yeah, it's yes, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thanks,
I
guys.
need to dampen it. I just figured I'd ask. I wasn't sure.
I was gonna ask on the side to, yeah, just to follow up to make sure, yeah, that's
Agreed.
not fun.
No.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
Have a
have
good
fun, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye.